We just figured out what all these venture firms have tried to figure out for 2 decades.
People hide behind social media, right?
What I did is I basically launched this email marketing campaign that was discover the hottest startups.
Understanding of what's the next great company in business, maybe service they can use, product. And so everyone's a winner.
Hey everybody, it's me, the Outside of Wall Street, here from the balcony at the New York Stock Exchange. This is your day, man. You know me, I love telling a human story. I love talking to you about people who are changing other people's lives. I've brought you everything from food, finance, fashion, forget about it. You know, it's all about the human story. It's right. And I love people who are doing things that really impact other people in an incredible way. So today I'm bringing you Bullet Pitch. Peter Tuchman, how are you? What's your name? Brett.
Felix.
Felix, good to meet you. Welcome to Trade Like Einstein. So, you know what? I saw you guys on social media and I was absolutely fascinated. Obviously, I'm a social media influencer and I'm somebody who in public markets and, I'm a podcaster as well. And then I sort of looked at you and you're like all of those things above, right? You're everything, right? But you've also gone in this amazing trajectory where you've just sort of, you obviously see the big picture. You're seeing the vortex too, right? And what you're doing is, and also I'm known as the connector and I really saw that in you guys too, right? That's the ultimate goal, right? If you're putting, look, there are a lot of talented people out there, right? It's a matter of you put together the right people. It's explosive, right? It's just exponential in every possible way. So just give me a little background on the two of you and how this whole thing started.
Yeah. All right, love it. So we got to sort of take you back to the beginning here.
Yes, let's go to the beginning.
About 4 years ago, had this really sort of wild idea, right? That if you look at some of the publications like TechCrunch and Forbes and Fortune, they tend to all cover companies that have already raised money. When I talk about companies like early stage startups,
right?
The big headline, this company just raised this amount of money.
You always hear about it after the
fact.
Correct. Yeah.
And so the thought process was, well, wait a second. Why has no media publication ever covered companies before they raise or while they're in the process of raising?
Right.
And if we were to do that, who would read it?
Right.
One, investors probably would.
Yep.
But then two, and this was the big unlock for us, founders would, right? And founders would say, how do I get my company featured, right? And so launch this newsletter with this kind of thesis where it was like, okay, let's go see what happens when we feature a bunch of companies.
Right.
What we didn't realize, and this was sort of the power of media and everything that we've done afterwards has sort of followed this thesis, is all these companies started coming to us, right? And they were like, hey, how do I get my company featured in this thing? And the newsletter just exploded, right? And
was it newsletter originally, or was it podcasting?
Started just as a newsletter. We'll get to the whole podcast
gotcha.
and how it all weaves together. But what was really interesting, we were like, well, wait a second. This is even bigger than just trying to disrupt the publication.
Right.
We just figured out what all these venture firms have tried to figure out for 2 decades, which is we just got all these companies to come to us, right? If you're all searching for all these startups, that's great, and we're going to do the same thing. But if we can get them to come to us, we could build a next-gen venture firm.
Yeah. Now, so, let me interrupt you for a quick second because it seems like the reason that they didn't do it was because they felt there was all this gatekeeping going on.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of venture is.
Everybody's living in LA or in San Francisco. It's either techie stuff or who knows about it. Chris Sacca, and a couple of strange little guys who are, we always hear about. Those are the guys who got in on Uber when it was $3,000 valuation. But that story never got out, and they never thought it was accessible or attainable to find that out. So you broke that.
Exactly right, and we democratized it.
Yeah, you democratized it.
So as we started writing this newsletter, it got really big, and then we layered an events arm on top of it, where it was like, well, if we have all these founders coming to us saying, hey, I'm raising money, why don't we stack an events arm on top of it, where let's go put a bunch of founders and investors in the room, and now we'll get all the ones that haven't raised it or aren't raising it that we want to know about. And so this got to such a crazy point probably 2 years in that we started seeing deals before all the big venture firms. Amazing. And the thought process was, well, let's start a venture arm to go pick off all these great deals that we're seeing and beat all these firms to it. And so started investing, had a ton of early success on the investment front. And
but you put your own money in, or you just sort of made
every deal.
Every deal.
But it was also sort of raising from other people. LPs.
But let's think about it, because there's smart money and there's strategic partnerships, right? I mean, dumb money and strategic partnership. Even if you're a Shark Tank fan, you'll just say, do I, like Mark Cuban always says, I don't want to be dumb money, right? If I can become part of your company, and I mean, that's sort of a perfect scenario, right? Before that, they were raising money from people who were just giving them money.
Capital.
Right. That was all it was. It was nothing else. And so what you've done is, I mean, I love this. Keep going.
Okay. So it's a great segue, right? Because what we started to realize as we were doing this is that companies were coming to us, A, because we were seeing them first, but B, because they saw the strategic value add in us that they weren't seeing elsewhere, which was we understood distribution really
Yeah.
right? Okay, so fast forward, now I meet Felix. You want to maybe I'll let you get
Really
started.
quickly, I started podcasting 7 years ago as a freshman in my college dorm room. I wanted to get in front of people that everybody loves talking about themselves, so it'd be super successful entrepreneurs, former hitman in the mafia, world champion athlete, reality TV star, whatever.
Casey Adams,
whoever you want, right?
Yeah.
And so I had this really robust network of creators, and as this creator economy started, growing massively, you start realizing the power. First of all, the attention is all on social first, and the power that these folks hold, and they're also starting to make some significant money.
Yeah.
And so when I met Brett, we were like, I understood we were speaking all the same languages. He was using distribution to see these companies really early and then pick up the best ones off. And we were like, hold on, what if we get the creators investing into these deals alongside them early, since they have the power to change the trajectory of an early stage business? The Einstein of Wall Street gets in early into a business that he believes in. You already know how much he really cares about it if he put his hard-earned capital into the business.
It's unbelievable. It's literally just taking two plugs and putting them together.
And you can really, you can add top line revenue within seconds and minutes or days.
It's unbelievable.
Right?
Let me pull back for a second, because the people are going to watch this. Everybody, a lot of my audience are younger people who are just trying to figure this out. How do they find a career, and I can't knock on that door or whatever. You were a college kid, and Casey Adams and I are good friends, and he is a young kid, probably similar as you, had enough balls to basically say, you know what? There's no reason I cannot knock on. I can call Warren Buffett and say, "Would you do this podcast with me?" And they would look highly on you and do it because, wow, this kid's got the balls to do that. Everybody is so living in so much fear about those people are way up on that mountaintop, and I can't talk to them or I can't knock on that door. You know what? We learn so much more from failure than we do from success. 100%. I mean, what failure or long? Because you obviously hit a bunch of. You must have. I mean, it wasn't just a clear path to success on that. I'm sure there were a couple of people or a couple of mornings you woke up and go, I can't do this interview. Do I know enough to? I even at this point in my life, I interviewed Dan Pena the other day. He was like one of my idols because he's such a no bullshit bull buster kind of a guy. But I'm going like, how can I even stand next to this guy and talk to him? That's a big thing.
For me, it was like I sent out 10,000 cold emails. If 1% said yes, I knew that I had 10 guests or whatever that is. And then it was like I was 19 and sat down with Mayor Adams at the time, right before he became mayor, and I'm like, what am I doing here with the future mayor? But I think like everybody's figuring it out on the fly, and you kind of fake it till you make it, right? And I know Brett has so many stories as well of, we've eaten shit for 5 years, and if you're comfortable with like eating shit when you're young, you'll figure it out.
So Peter, I've never told this story ever on a podcast or anywhere, but I started Bullet Pitch out of my college dorm room. And
where'd you go to college?
I went to UC Santa Barbara, transferred to Boston University.
And I went to Middlebury College.
Okay, great.
And so I'm at Middlebury, and I basically want to start this newsletter, right? But I don't know anyone in venture. I'm like, let my mom subscribe. She's not in venture.
Right.
But what I did is I basically launched this like email marketing campaign that was like, discover the hottest startups. And I sent probably cold emails, and this is a little hack. I don't know if it still works, but I think it does, from my .edu. EDUs don't get blocked. And so I sent, I think, probably 50,000 cold emails from my Middlebury.edu, and I have all these like huge investors reading this thing.
Education is one of the greatest greasers of all the engines.
People were like, free deal flow, I'll sign up. And that's how we probably got our first 10,000 subscribers.
And going back to the education piece, so we started hosting this very viral dinner series back in May called Influence Meets Venture. Every month we host a dinner, 3 to 4 superstar founders pitching Shark Tank style a room with some of the biggest content creators in the world. And now all these content creators, A, they want to be at the dinners, but B, they'll reach out to me on social like, I want to invest in the next deal. What's the next deal? What's the next deal? I really loved what you just did. Like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And we wanted to lean into the education, especially obviously you are an expert on the public market side, but on the private market side, it's like you have to understand the risk, the reward, how you can plug in, how you can add value. It's we're democratizing it a lot for these creators that now should have access to the upside.
Yeah, look, you're putting the ultimate connection together, which is amazing. And even from the educational side, I love that part of it. So many people have found this little niche. They're making a lot of money, finding success, and then they just want to sort of hang out. I always say they're sitting there on, on the back of their Bugatti with stacks of 10,000s like, look at me, I'm a big deal, when most of the time it's all bullshit.
And what's cool though is it works in two ways, right? For the creators, they're getting educated on, oh my God, I can change the trajectory of a business.
And access to good early stage, great access.
But for the founders, they're all realizing now that it's really hard to build a business in this AI age, right? Where it's like everything's kind of commoditized and competition's really fierce. How do you differentiate? Distribution. Where do you learn distribution from? content creators.
Right. You know, it is amazing. I mean, I never thought I'm standing here, right, with 1.2 million followers on Instagram. I never thought, you know, I had 250. It was a big part of my life. It was a lot of, you know, it was a lot of educational stuff. There was a little money in it and whatnot. The difference of the responsibility and the amount of work it is going over to the millions. But for me, it's a matter of those. It's unbelievable. But also, if you have that platform, it's a matter of what do you do with it, right? And that's what your guys are doing. Yeah. Just knowing who these people are is not enough. Even connecting them is still not enough. But it's such a broader picture. I'm baffled by the ingenuity of. I mean, think about there's so many startups that people don't know about that are like, boom, blow your mind type of stuff that people have even come up. Like, why didn't I think of that? Those aha moment things. I mean, look at Shark Tank. It's a perfect example of people who you would have ever thought would have ever gotten on there or started things or whatever. You know?
And then for us, it's like, well, what happens if you have an incredible business, incredible product, and now you add millions of eyeballs and attention to it, right?
Exactly.
You de-risk your own capital, and you also give a launching pad to the founder.
It is, and the eyeballs are so important.
Exactly. Right. So this is our entire thesis, right? Use media to go get the companies, and then let's go de-risk them all with media. Right, and like this is sort of like what we say we're building is the sort of first media-led venture capital.
Yeah, and it is because there is is there any competition in this?
No, I mean no. Candidly, I think that there's a lot of venture firms that are trying to do different. They have different theses around the whole creator economy, given that it's approaching $1 trillion.
Some are creators who have their own funds, but I don't think anyone's taking this approach where it's like our thesis is media is everything. Media drives deal flow. We put media on the companies.
The other thing is like when you see creators doing brand deals, you'll see the hashtag ad, and I think that now, given that a lot of folks are understanding how much money some creators are making, there's like, swipe them, like I don't want to engage. Very different kind of mentality when you see a creator that you know for a fact is an investor, went to their Chase bank account, wired money because they believe so much into that product. It's a level of authenticity with their audience that I think you can't replicate.
I also think that it's going to sort of, I mean, the de-risking part is spectacular because that's what our world is all about at this point. But I think you're going to get rid of a lot of people who are just, you know, who first of all are full of it, and their social media is just nothing more than a bunch of bought followers.
Yeah.
Those that integrity, the cream is going to rise to the top, and you're going to see them, you know, start getting behind what they're saying. Right. One of the strange things, I mean, this is some to be addressed, is how scary social media is. You know, as I'm older than you guys, I have kids, right, and to think about how social people hide behind social media, right? And it's really it's made it so that people don't even know how to talk to each other. I know, right? That's what I loved about you guys, that you're doing something so counter to all that. We can be anything we want behind a friggin' Instagram page, but the fact is that you're putting people together in a room. People have to be honest. There's integrity. They got to, you know, talk the talk, walk the walk, all that kind of stuff, and then sign a deal to it, and then get behind it.
For sure.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I could not be more excited. I love the idea. So just think about what's going on here, right? You've got influencers, right, who are out there making a bunch of great content, who get in front of a lot of eyeballs. Whatever their messaging is, sometimes the message is, you know, is something good. Sometimes it's a product. Sometimes it's just a bunch of chatter and a bunch of BS. And then you've got amazing founders, people who've started companies, right, who in the past would go up and find, you know, sort of dumb money. They'd find venture capital willing to put up money because they like the sector, they like the space, or whatever, or you connected to the right person.
Exactly right.
Now imagine if you actually didn't waste your time on that, and you took a founder with a great company and a great idea that was in the midst of a startup, and you connected it to an influencer who already has a platform and an audience, and you put that together, it blows up.
And I guess last thing too is like, you know, it democratizes it in a lot of senses where it's not even just for the folks that are in the room, and it's like for the audience members and the people the followers now are able to get understanding of what's the next great company and business, maybe service they can use, product, and so like everyone's a winner. You know, it's not just what happens in that room.
And we practice what we preach, right? Like it's not like we're just saying, oh, okay, media's great. Like we're using it too. We're doing in the same way that when these creators post something, or when you post something and your DMs get flooded, I want to work with you, Peter. I want to work with you, Peter. It's the same thing, right? Well, I'll post something on LinkedIn or you'll post something on Instagram. It'll go viral, and we get all these founders who are like, we want to work with you.
Yeah.
Great, let's put you along the funnel.
You know what I love also? The dinner idea. So what they ended up doing also is just putting these people in one room. Everybody thinks that you, first of all, have to have all your ducks in a row before you do anything. That is a really bad misconception. You've got to sometimes fake it until you make it and just go along the way with your idea, you know, and never give up on it, right? That's a big thing. I just spoke at a conference in Miami, Saturday. And the other keynote speaker besides me was Terry Crews. Okay, who I had met a few times before when the Expendables came out, or whatever that was the name of the movie, right? And he told his story, you know, and it was a story. It was, you know, he was one of like 6 kids, and you know, the whole family didn't eat for like 3 months so that they could try and get him to college so he can get a scholarship. All of these stories, even after he had been in the NFL. Played for 7 teams. He ended up a sweeper at Paramount because he had no money. He was literally cleaning the floors, and it turned out that they were shooting a film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They needed a huge, big black dude to be in a part, and he was standing there friggin' washing the floor, and they said, Arnold turns to him and says, yeah, I need you. You look like a good guy. And he goes, you want to be in my movie? He says, yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. And they put him in the role, and that was it. After years of trying and failing and getting knocked down and almost giving up so many times, that was the break. And, you know, you never know what break. I mean, that's about never burn your friggin' bridges. You never know when something is going to happen. That's like you two meeting each other and coming up with the ideas, because you could have been living on opposite sides. You could have been living next door to each other, right? And never meet each other and understand that.
And I think, you know, I think a lot of the similarities here is that we started things in college. We were young. It's hard. It's still hard, right? But like, there's no plan B. And so you just figure it out.
There's no plan B. I'm a firm believer in no plan B. And look, and I've been doing no plan B for another 30 years than you. But I love the fact that everyone thinks, I start to say that everyone they need to throw a huge event. It's nothing more than 4 founders and 20 influencers and a couple other people and you guys sitting at a beautiful dinner in New York talking about things. The exponential effect that's going to have is going to be huge.
Exactly right. What's amazing is like, we kick off the dinners and we share our thesis, but then we just hand it off to the founders and the creators who start asking questions. By the end of the night, we could leave the room and no one cares, because it's not about us, right? It's about this thesis you're de-risking by taking this out of the picture, because this is a conduit to get people together. But it's not, at the end of the day, 2 human beings talking to each other. That's the secret sauce. And IRL's the hottest thing right now, but what we're doing is we're using media to actually get people in person. And once we get them in person, right, and that's where like the magic of these dinners. I mean, we did a deal that came out of one of these dinners where the founders pitched, the creators loved it, and it just very naturally progressed.
And think about it, you're democratizing. There are so many young traders now. There's this whole revolution I started to tell you guys about it downstairs. You know, 50 million new traders came into the market during COVID, right? They all got their asses kicked. Most of them went home, you know, bleeding, right? A few of them came back. They're a lot smarter, right? So retail is smart money now. And then there's this new revolution of trading futures and whatnot. I've seen a bunch of them those are the ones I respect, who have become successful, made a bunch of money, and almost instantly have started to create communities around them, right? So that they're not just standing alone, having made a bunch of money, you know, bragging. They're now sharing that wealth and sharing that community and all that information, which is great, which you guys are doing.
There's enough to go around for everyone.
Exactly, there is enough to go around. You know, I could talk to you guys forever.
I agree.
This is a great story. I want to be on both sides of this story. You know, I mean, I'm your perfect character, not to blow smoke up my own ass, but
it's true. Really, though,
it is.
Fintech, any type of company in the business world, you have the power to really influence their audience, and in a way where they could never maybe afford the normal rates of a creator. If you're an investor, you're kind of paying them.
Exactly. That, you know, that is so exciting. As I have exploded in these last 3 months, I see the power of the eyeballs, of the views. You know, I was getting views for one reason. I've always tried my views. I was always hoped that my views had some kind of impact in a positive way. It's always been my thing. You know, that's why I just don't do, you know, stupid dumb shit. But you know, even I show speed. Okay. You know, I mean, it's a funny story. So this guy came to me named Adam Faze. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. He was sort of a disruptor, purple hair, you know, kid from LA, and you know, who was trying to make movies and do disruptive stuff. He came to me 5 years ago and he goes, he goes, I see something really special in you, and I want to film you walking out of the stock exchange every day for 30 days, just doing your thing. I want to see you interact with the public outside, which I'd never done before, right? He goes, just walk up, and I'm going to film you walking up and down Broadway. It's going to be called Einstein's Elementary. You're going to give some basic stuff. What about what's Wall Street about? And we're going to have some fun. And we did it. It turned out we had marching bands from Brooklyn. I walked around with a 50-pound Hershey's Kiss and gave out chocolate to everybody. I was buying 100 of those bronze bulls and giving it to tourists. You know, and the thing went viral. 5 million views on TikTok in 2020 was a big deal. Right? And then I ended up going on, I performed with this group called Earn Your Leisure. They're these young black guys who started this financial literacy thing, pretty really amazing platform. They're 50 million strong in their world. And I was performed at Madison Square Garden and all this other wild shit. This guy disappears on me, right, with all my footage and all this thing, and I wanted to kill him. He finally shows back up years later, literally in September, and he says, you know, he goes, I know I screwed you over, but I'm going to make it up to you. I said, okay, sure, whatever. So 2 weeks later, he calls, he says, I'm running the production for this guy, I Show Speed's 37 city tour, right? And I want the first stop on the tour to be you. And I said, okay. I looked the kid up. He said, I want to bring him to Wall Street.
Biggest
I
in the
said,
world.
I don't know. That's not Wall Street stuff. Jumping up and down in front of, a car going 100 miles. That's not floor material. But I'll be happy to go meet him somewhere. He said, how about we meet you at the Bull and you kind of welcome him to Wall Street? He doesn't know anything about finance or anything like that. And so I met him at the Bull, right? There were cops everywhere. He was already on live stream with 100 million people. And I did my shtick about investing in stocks and not stuff, and I told him about, instead of buying the new iPhone, you buy an Apple share stock, and it just clicked. Literally, the end of the tour, they brought him to Harvard. Okay, I'll show you the video. It's amazing. And they put him in a room with a Harvard student who was studying finance. Right, and they were sort of intrigued to meet each other, and so and Speed says to him, he says, I know all about it. He said, what are you studying? He goes, economics and finance. Speed says, I know all about finance. He says, if you buy the shares of Apple instead of that stupid phone, you're going to have a bunch of money. And he verbatim everything I had told him. He had gone around the country and sort of it made sense to him, and he goes, you kids at Harvard should know that shit. Come on, I'm a kid for the and that went completely viral.
I'm sure.
And that whole thing to see how that has changed my life almost instantly. It's the power of that is, think about it. Now, I literally get 7,000 DMs a day. My phone turned to vapor within 48 hours.
One phone or two?
No, I'm on my one phoner still. I want to get like a flip thing that can be, like William
You'll give
Shatner
us your number
or something.
though, right?
Yeah, 100%. But it's amazing. So you know what? This is
Congrats.
so exciting.
I mean, and look, you deserve it too, because I'm sure that you probably feel this, but a lot of kids are interested about the markets and learning, and they always felt like, it's for the rich or the educated or whatever, and you're democratizing it as well. So
it is for absolutely everybody, right? Anybody, literally, who's $30 can just get in here if they want it. But it also keeps away people who are, there are those who are going to just think it's about getting rich quick and FOMO and hype and hope and all that stuff. It's not, though. Right? I mean, those who take it seriously, it's like with your business too. It will kind of, it'll weed out the BS, and it will literally just put together people in a room who are doing something. But you guys you're killing it. So couldn't be more happy. I met you, and I hope we get to do good shit together.
First great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? That's straight like Einstein. I'm the Einstein of Wall Street. That's all I got to say about that.